Okay, great. You're going to see, I want to draw your attention. You're going to see that there's a document attached to this webinar. Feel free to download that. It's a PDF that gives some basic concepts as well as a list of exactly how to do your My School Fees deposit. Okay, so our goal today is to understand how payments flow from myschoolfees.com into Paywire when the batches are closed and what's appropriate for you to import into your accounting package and how to do it, okay? I want to start by looking at your Paywire page where a record of transactions as well as batches and batch totals are maintained. If you don't have your Paywire login, reach out to us. Reach out to support@tessoftware.com and we'll get it to you. This is a critical part of properly going through your My School Fees import deposit procedure. I go ahead and enter my password and username. Once I'm in, it shows me the two accounts. You may have one or two associated with you. Moto is always for online, and those are the types of accounts we're going to be talking about today. There's a different deposit procedure for your card swipe account. If I go into reports, transaction report, and then transaction report by location, and if you're taking notes, just stop. All of this is written down in the handout. Just hang out with me here and just watch what's happening instead of being distracted by trying to write everything down. So we're in the transaction detail by location page. And this is where we're going to get our reports 99.9% of the time. I would say all the time. From here, you can do things like set the date you want to start the report by, the date you want to end. There's an important box here we'll talk about in a minute, based on settled batch. The main thing that you'll choose is from this box, this print single merchant box. You may have one or two accounts in this box. Even if you only have one, you'll have to click this drop down and select it. Okay. I'm going to select TES Software Moto. That's my online account. Moto is a phrase that means online processing. So I've got that selected and I'm going to click OK. Yesterday, I ran 3 sets of transactions and closed the batch for each. I need you to use your imagination that each of these sets of transactions is based on a different day. Say this one is based on the 11th, this set. This is based on the 12th, and this is based on the 13th, okay? For you, when you do your import, you're gonna have a daily batch that closes at midnight, and we'll talk more about that. So we see we have these transactions here, these 3 sets of transactions contained within this thing called a batch. Here we have 5 transactions. The batch total is this much. Transactions contained in a batch. Here we have 4 transactions. 60 cents are contained in a batch. And these are all settled batches. These are batches that are closed, and an amount matching the batch total is going to hit your bank shortly. Let's look at something here. We're going to uncheck this, which is something you will probably never do, but I want to uncheck it and we'll see what happens. I'm going to say I want to see everything, even if it's not in a settled batch. Looks exactly the same. What's happened is that there isn't any transactions in the new open batch. Let's go ahead and put a few there. I'm pretending I'm a parent going to My School Fees to make a transaction to your school. Okay. I'm going to make a donation for 13 cents. I'm going to add it to my cart. I'm going to check out. Put in my name. And I'm going to move this off to the side while I enter my live credit card information. So we just made a payment. I'm going to make one more. In this one, I'm going to make a couple payments for some students. I'm going to make a 15-cent donation here, and then I'm going to make an other 15-cent donation for another one of my students. And I'm going to check out. So it was one transaction, but there was 2 receipts written here because there needs to be a receipt for each student so the data can be kept in your accounting package properly for that student's account. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at what this same report looks like now with the based on settled batch unchecked. Now you see we have this new set of transactions that are included in an unsettled batch. Okay. Let's look at how we handle this situation. Now that we've kind of got a picture of how the money flows from my school fees into the Paywire batching system, let's look at this. Let's kind of recap what's happening here. We've got this process, this blue box, where the batch is closed at midnight and a new batch is open at midnight for the upcoming day's transactions. So we've got the batch auto closes at midnight and a new batch opens. At midnight, the previous day's transactions are settled and the batch closes. A deposit matching the total of the settled batch will soon be deposited to your school's bank. A new batch is opened for the upcoming day's transactions. At that point, people can start paying. This is what this gray arrow stands for. People can start paying into the open batch. They pay. They keep paying into the open batch at midnight. The batch is closed. A new batch is open. The money from that closed batch will hit your bank soon, and a new payment cycle starts. Okay, are we understanding? See, I'm going to put down everybody's hands. If you're getting the picture here, can you raise your hand as far as understanding how the money flows from my school fees into the Paywire batching system? Okay, great. If you have questions, make sure to type them into the question box. I'll try to watch for them. Okay. All right. The way that you bring those transactions from that batch is this. You're going to open your account. You're going to open My School Accounting. We're going to go to My School Fees. And again, you don't need to be writing this down or taking notes. All of this is included in the handout. Just kind of watch and see this, okay? We open My School Accounting and then click My School Fees from the menu system on the top. This is the My School Fees module. Yours, if you have an old accounting system, may have a blue background, but don't worry about it. It's just a graphic, same functionality included. Here, we've got import receipts from My School Fees. Many people like to print a pending My School Fees report. You can do that if you wish. For us, I'm going to move to this, Post My School Fees to Tess. Tess is a nickname for your accounting system. So this means we're going to bring the My School Fees transactions into our accounting system. Takes a minute while the program goes out to the My School Fees server and says, what's out there? Here it says we've got 21 receipt items found. These are individual items. You won't have that same amount of receipts. It could be one receipt with 5 items on it. So we've got those 21 items. Let's go ahead and click OK to see what they are. All right, so we've got this list of payments. By clicking Post Deposit, if we wanted to, we could just bring them all in one big ugly chunk. All the money would be posted to the right accounts. All the transactions would be associated with the right student. But if you ever needed to find a deposit based on what you're looking at on your bank statement against what's in your accounting system, good luck. It would take a lot of extra work. If you have an audit happening and the auditor is trying to figure out what's happened with these different deposits, it's not going to be good for him to work through that. Our goal is to import these transactions in such a way that the deposit in your accounting package matches exactly what the deposit on your bank statement says. Okay, that's our goal. This is how you do a clean import. Okay, great. Let's go back out to Paywire. We're going to switch this back to be based on settled batch. Okay. Here we can see both at the same time. The key is to identify the first transaction here against the first transaction in this list. Once we've done that, and you can usually do that by the time on the transaction. If you want, you can actually use, let's see here. You can use your secretary tools. In My School Fees in your secretary's menu. Or Hiram probably has a slicker way to do this in the system. Here we can see these different transactions. But the goal is to identify the first transaction here against the first transaction on your Paywire batch report. So once we've identified that transaction, the next thing we do is our goal is just to add this batch, this single batch here, as a deposit into My School Accounting. We've got the first transaction for 13 cents. I'm going to clear all these tags, first of all. I'm going to put an X in the transactions that I want to deposit. I've got my 13-cent transaction. I want to add that. When I look at the next transaction, it's 70 cents. And this transaction is 12 cents. Okay? What can happen is a parent can pay for multiple students in a single checkout. That transaction with those multiple students is charged Paywire in a single transaction. We do this because you're charged a certain percentage plus 30 cents a transaction. So we bundle that all together. When you run into this situation where a line on your My School Fees deposit does not match a line on your amount from your Paywire report, just start to look at this. Let's check these out. Those 5 transactions add up to 70 cents. So we've got a match. The next transaction is for 13 cents. We've got a match. The next transaction is for 14 cents. Match. Next transaction is for 11 cents. Match. We've got a batch total of $1.21 and a deposit total of $1.21. We're ready to post this deposit in a way that's going to match the deposit on your bank statement. So we just go post. The receipts are posted, the money is put into the right accounts, the payments are associated with the right students. We still need to get these other 2 closed batches into the system. So we just go through the same process. Import, post, okay. We've identified our first transaction. Once you get past the first one, it's really easy to identify. So we're going to clear all these tags. The first transaction is for 10 cents. The next one's for 12. The next one is for 16, and hang on, this one says 27. So what do? We've got the next 2 lines here, 16 and 11, 27 cents. That's a match. And then the next line is 11 cents. The batch total is 60 cents. Our deposit total is 60 cents. We're good to go. Post. Now, we've got this last transaction here, this last settled batch that we need to post. The same routine. Click clear all tags. Our first transaction is for 15 cents. Our next transaction is for 11 cents. Our deposit is 26 cents. Our batch total is 26 cents. That's it. Post. At this point, we still have some receipts that we could bring in, but we don't want to. Those are the transactions that are on today's open batch, waiting for the batch to settle at midnight. Okay? All right, I see I've got a question up. Hang on a sec here. It's usually, I've got a question, what's the turnaround time the deposit will hit our bank account? It's usually a couple days. It's within a couple days. But if you see a settled batch there, that money will hit your account. It just flat out will. If you need a procedure to handle an outstanding batch, go ahead and talk to our core support folks and they will set that up for you. Okay, any questions so far?
Bill, just a comment. You have an option with TSYS to do what's called next day funding.
Right.
The cost is $3.99 a month. If you do that, if you settle the batch tonight, it will go in your bank tomorrow.
Right, right. There is that next day funding option where any settled batch money is deposited the very next day. It's really cheap to do too, like Hiram said, $3.99 a month. Okay, so that's available. So again, we've got these 3 transactions. We may be tempted to bring them in because they're sitting there and we could click post deposit, but don't. Just know that those transactions are sitting out in our unsettled batch for today, waiting for midnight to hit, at which point you'll have a settled batch you can import. Now, the reason that I showed you this today with 3 different imports is because sometimes you may feel that, well, I got to do an import every day, so everything is like current and perfect. But what about the weekend? What about the Christmas break? where you're going to be away and you come back and there's several batches waiting to import. You just use that batch by batch import process without ever importing a transaction from an unsettled batch. Okay, so let's go back to our little document here, the one that you have the ability to download. So here's how the money flows. This next gray arrow is where you come in. You have the ability to get into this list of closed and unclosed batches. And this is where you come in. The bookkeeper imports settled batches one by one into My School Accounting, never importing transactions from unsettled batches, always ensuring the transaction and deposit total imported to My School Accounting match the transactions and batch total of the settled batch. Now, of course, that little catch is that once in a while, you'll end up with a line on your My School fees deposit that has that doesn't match your Paywire transactions, because there's several transactions in one, like I demonstrated earlier. Okay. By doing this method, it ensures your deposit amount in My School Accounting matches the TSYS deposit on your bank statement. Your TSYS deposit on your bank statement is going to look something like this. It's going to say TSYS payment processed, and then it's going to have your MID number and then an amount. So just so you know, for your information, that is what it's going to look like on your bank statement. Okay. Down below this on that document is a step-by-step list on how to do what we just walked through. I want you to remember that the TES Help Desk is here, tessoftware.zendesk.com. It is your friend. There's lots of great information there. There's lots of documents, lots of helpful hints. It's a great place if you just have a question too. Just go ahead and register or log in, ask your question, submit a ticket, and then our support staff actively monitors that, and we can get back with you quickly, as well as track the problem from beginning to end by using the help desk. So if you're not using the help desk, start using the help desk. It'll be a big help for you. Also, there's a 4-minute video that walks you through exactly what we did. If you're more of a visual person, and it's at this link. So from your document, you can actually click that link and it will fire up the video. Okay? And that's it. That's what I got. Do you folks feel confident to properly import your transactions now so that your deposits match both on your accounting package and on your bank statement? Do you feel good?
Bill?
I'm not getting a whole bunch of hands, but
This is
what
Melly.
questions are there? Yeah, Mel.
That when you were talking about there's one little catch of when they don't agree, I don't feel like that was super clear to me what you were talking about.
What I'm talking about are transactions like this, the second one that we did, this 70 cents, where there was actually 5 different transactions for 5 kids, but the amounts of those 5 transactions added up to 70 cents.
Gotcha.
It's like this transaction here for 30 cents from our outstanding batch. We've got these 2 transactions here for 15 cents a piece. So there's a little bit of difference here. There's 30 cents on Paywire, but it was broken out into 2 separate receipts because each child requires their own receipt. So that's the little catch I was talking about.
Perfect. I'd love to mention one other little thing, and that's just that in your DB Trans and your Paywire online, you're going to see the cardholder's name. But in our system, I believe you're going to see the student's name or the name on the receipt.
Yeah, it'll be the student's name because that's who the money is going towards, their account.
So sometimes they don't have the same last name and you have to play detective just a little bit.
Yep.
There's that.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. Please use the help desk. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay. Thank you.